night at the Easter Vigil, we heard some stories of faith. The 6-day account of creation. The chilling story of Abraham taking his only son Isaac, preparing to offer him in sacrifice, and the Lord stopping him. The story of the escaped Hebrew slaves trapped at the Red Sea, the Egyptian army encroaching behind them, trapped, and the waters opening, passing through dry shod. And when the chariots and the army came through, the mud clogged their wheels, and the waters came back. And it was a tragedy for them. And a beautiful account from Isaiah. All you who are thirsty, come to the water. Come. Receive food that satisfies. Again, we had a baptism. Somebody came into the church along. Someone who had been a very, very good Lutheran. And all through the RCIA program, we were very, very blessed. And over and over again, well, why don't we do this? Well, what's this? And over you think, oh, he's not going to follow through. He followed through. I hope you're familiar with Faith magazine. Our diocese, over 20 years ago, stepped away from a Catholic newspaper to this magazine format, and it has caught on so dramatically. I don't know how many dioceses around the country and even beyond the country adapt this to their own diocese, but they publish over 1 million copies a month. And it's always an opportunity to come across some new faith stories. There were a couple that really touched me in this issue. And these are available if you'd like to take one when you leave. The first one is about a deacon named Ken Drayton. He grew up a Methodist. And during college, he said, one Sunday, for whatever reason, he came to Mass. And the priest asked if anybody would serve. Nobody came up. He said, what the heck, I'll help. So he came up. The priest had no idea he was a Methodist. But he served. Everything was fine. A few weeks later, the same thing happened. And everything was almost fine again, except at the part when the priest washed his hands, the server, rather than bringing water over, poured wine on his hands. Afterwards, the priest took him aside and said, well, what's going on? And he said, well, I'm a Methodist. And the priest understandably said to him, well, what are you doing serving? And understandably, he said, he asked for help. Nobody else stepped forward. And that began a series of regular breakfast meetings between the two and led to his becoming Catholic. The cover story, God Sent Me on a Path to Joy, is a story about a woman named Joni Gunther and the strange way she came to Catholicism. And it was through a job at a Catholic cemetery. Very, very interesting story. She was the daughter of a Baptist preacher who had fallen away from faith practice. Her husband was a very, very good Lutheran. It's a beautiful account of how they were so touched by our faith. Well, we heard another story of faith in the gospel that Chris proclaimed. Jesus Christ is executed, buried, and these courageous, faithful women come to the tomb early in the morning to anoint his body and finally pay it due respect, because the Sabbath was creeping up and they couldn't do it that night. And you heard the words, "Who will roll the stone away from the tomb?" Well, what do you know? It's rolled away. Who will roll away the stone? Friends, what are the obstacles in your lives? What makes you nervous? What frightens you? What fills you with dread and anxiety? How many times do you ask, how will I ever get through this? Can I survive this? And here we are. They step into the tomb, and there's a young man in a white robe, an angel, we assume. And they were amazed. And did you catch his words back to them? Do not be amazed. Well, I'll tell you, it seemed pretty amazing to me. Do not be amazed, as if to say, heck, this is nothing. Not just is the tomb empty, but you're going to see him again. And he will never leave you. And when you find yourself nervous and frightened and anxious, remember, you are not alone. He's promised to be with us always. But friends, remember as well, you're not alone. We don't worship in private. We gather and celebrate. And I hope you realize, by gathering in this church, heck, even if you're in the hall in the overflow section today, we're here with you to encourage and support, to be a strength when you're weak. Who will roll away the stone? Well, last night, the Catholic faith journey began for two wonderful people. Our church is a little bit bigger, not just St. Rita, but around the world. Folks entered the church last night. It's a big deal. We're not going to set any records for how many we brought in. Oh my gosh, it keeps happening. Who will roll away the stone? Do not be amazed. Every one of us has a faith story. Ups and downs, struggles and trials, moments of amazement. And we're still living those stories. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? But of this you can be sure. Jesus Christ is risen from the dead. And he is with us always. May God bless us all.
Amen.